What's up, YouTube? Timu's here. Here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turned 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the film celebrating their 10th anniversary is. Oh boy, we don't have many great 10-year-olds this week. But we got Mortedcai. The classic comedy starring Johnny Depp, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeff Goldblum, directed by the writer of Jurassic Park, who also directed Johnny Depp in Secret Window, so there's that. If you guys don't remember much about this, it got released all the way back in 2015, starring Johnny Depp as his part-time rogue Charlie Mordecai, who races to recover a stolen painting rumored to contain a code that leads to Lost Golden. I remember watching this one in theaters all the way back in 2015. It's horrible. It wasn't all that funny. Very cringy at times. I believe Johnny Depp actually scored a Razzie nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a good one. You know, uh, of course, this was around the time like Johnny Depp kept doing these very questionable films, like he did Lone Ranger, The Taurus, Transcendence. Majority of those was a flop. So who knows if we're ever gonna see Johnny Depp do these type of roles again? But yeah, Mordecai. Who? I mean, I think they. If I'm not mistaken, this thing was supposed to be a franchise at one point. Has not haven't seen a Mordecai 2 or 3 yet. So yeah, but it's not a good one there. All right. Also turning 10 is The Boy Next Door. Now this movie starred Jennifer Lopez and was directed was directed by Rob Cohen, who you might know directed the first Fast and Furious. He did the Triple X movies and whatever. I mean, he's done some cool action. And so he decided to go on to direct this Lifetime looking film. Which, if you guys don't know much about The Boy Next Door, it also starred John Corbett, Kristen Chenoweth, and it follows a 19-year-old who, after a one-night stand with his high school teacher, develops a dangerous and deranged obsession with her. And you're supposed to buy that this 19-year-old is a 19-year-old, by the way. Yeah, this guy definitely. He's of course played by Ryan Guzman, who you might know, who's of course on the 911 show on ABC. He plays the like the deranged sociopath, and he's supposed to be passed as a 19-year-old. I remember I watched this. I'm like, is that dude supposed to be 19 here? Like seriously, he looks way too old. Like dude literally looks at it like he's in his 30s. But of course, you had Jennifer Lopez and on. It's I remember watching this one in theaters as well. It's not so good. It's more of a guilty pleasure of mine, really. But I will acknowledge it's not a good film at all. It really felt like those, movies such as Obsession with Beyonce or Single White Female or Hand That Rocks the Cradles. Really felt like those obsession type movies that we've seen like in the 90s, 2000s, and whatever. And or those like movies you'll see on Lifetime and all. And hey, let me just say, J Lo, she still looks great for her age now. So there's that. But okay, yeah, it's still not so good. Anyway, other film turning 10 is is the music of film Strange Magic, which was produced by Lucasfilm, featuring the voices of Evan Rachel Wood, Alan Cumming, Elijah Kelly, Maya Rudolph, the aforementioned Krista Chenoweth, and Alfred Molina, and it follows the leader of the Dark Forest, Bod King, voiced by Alan Cumming, who hates the notion of love and order the destruction of prime roses, and he begins to change his mind upon meeting the feisty fairy princess Marion, voiced by Wood. And this, of course, actually had like lots of iconic pop songs and whatever. It's actually not a bad film, in my opinion. I remember watching this one in theaters. This was actually one of the very few times I was literally the only one in the theater. Yeah, I remember seeing this one in theirs. Literally, not one person was in the there. I'm like, it actually felt good. Come on, ever go to like a movie there and you're like the only person literally in there? Not gonna lie, that actually feels good sometimes. And this was a complete flop when it was released. I mean, how many people have actually heard of Strange Magic? It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember watching it. Not as like not a great film, but not as not as bad as most of these films are. So, all right. Also turning 10 is Black Sea, which stars Jude Law as a rogue submarine captain who puts together a misfit crew on a treasure rumored to be the lost in the depths of the Black Sea. It starred Jude Law, Scoot McNairy, David Durlford, who you might know as the British version of Frank Gallagher on the UK version of Shameless. So it was pretty cool seeing him in that. I watched this one too. I wasn't too big with this. I was completely bored by it. Never did anything. They really do anything for me. So yeah, it was from the same director who did Last King of Scotland. So there's that. Also turning 10 is the movie Cake, which starred Jennifer Aniston. You also had, speaking of Frank Gallagher, by the way, you had William H Macy, uh, Sam Warrington, and Anna Kendrick. And if you guys don't know much about the story for this, it's more like after having visions of a member of her support group who took her own life, a woman played by Jennifer Aniston also suffers with chronic pain and seeks out the widower of the person who took her life. And the movie itself wasn't so good. I will admit that, but Jennifer Aniston did give a good performance in this. It really showcased that. It's been a while since Jennifer, other than like Morning Show, I guess. I feel like Jennifer Aniston doesn't do these type of performances anymore. Like obviously, except for maybe Morning Show and whatever. But this is actually a movie that really gained her tons of Oscar buzz. Like I believe she actually got a couple of nominations, like Critics' Choice Award. I think she got a Golden Globe nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think she got an Oscar nomination for anything, but even though I didn't like it, if she were to get nominated for an Oscar, I wouldn't have any complaint for it because she was actually really good in this. So, again, the movie itself wasn't good, but she actually was redeeming quality. All right, films turning 20 this week is Assault on Prison 13. This is a remake of the John Carpenter film from, I think, the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. This starred Ethan Hawke, John Leguizamo, Lawrence Fishburne, Maria Bello, and it's of course where like this rundown prison 13 is closing its doors forever, and changes when a high security prison transports a bus arrival with some of Detroit's most lethal prisoners here. And Ethan Hawke was really great in this. It was also from the same director who recently gave us that Gerard Butler movie Plane, which was pretty fun. John Leguizamo's good in this. It had some really fun action to it. It was pretty entertaining. I mean, a pretty decent little action movie if you guys ever seen that. Also turning 20 is Are We There Yet? The 2005 family comedy with Ice Cube, Nia Long. If you, of course you also had Tracy Morgan was in this. If you guys don't know much about the story with this, you got Ice Cube, who plays Nick, who offers to accompany his a newly divorcee Susan, played by Nia Long, uh, of course, accompany her children on a flight to Portland, Oregon, to Canada to see their mother, and of course, mis- mishaps ensue, and of course, he had to instead, decide go on a road trip and take them like in their car and stuff like that, and like it didn't really get much love at the time. I think it's because lots of people when you think of Ice Cube at the time, you never really thought of a Family Guy, or a family movie actor. Because this is a guy who sang a song about F the police. You know, uh, like how could you get that guy in a kids movie? But you know what? Are we there yet? Now, are we done yet? I admit, maybe a step down, not as funny as the first film. Now, of course, that got released like 2 years after. Are we there yet is funny. I really always got a kick out of this. The deer scene always cracked me up. Uh, you know, the chemistry between Ice Cube and other youngsters in this was pretty good. You don't really see the kid actors hardly in anything anymore. Like I remember the one who plays like the youngest son, Phil Bowden. Like he doesn't really hardly do anything nowadays. Like I remember the first time I saw him was when I had a little role in Little Nicky in the basketball scene now. And you don't really see like the daughter Holly anymore. It's I guess they stepped aside acting. Maybe that's cool. I guess, but yeah, Are We There Yet is still a lot of fun. It's pretty fun. It's entertaining. And if you guys remember, they did do a TV show as well with Terry Crews, which the TV show wasn't bad either, but the movie itself is a lot of fun. And it's a shame they never done a third one, but hey, I've always liked Ice Cube, and Are We There Yet is definitely one of my favorites of his. So, all right. And also, you can never get the Nelly song if you want to take a ride with me. 'Cause I always associate that song with Are We There Yet? All right. Films turning 30 this week. We got Bad Company. Speaking of Lawrence Fishburne. You also got Ellen Barkin, Frank Langella, James Hong, and it stars Barkin and Fishburne as former CIA operators engaging in a dubious romance while planning to take out their boss, played by Frank Langella. It's not really too memorable, but I remember watching this like decades like before. It's an okay one. The cabin. I've always liked Barkin. Fishburne's always good. So there's that. Also turning 20, or during that meant, is Murder in the First, which is a legal drama starring the likes of Christian Slater, who by the way is great on Dexter Originals. Kevin Bacon, Gary Oldman, and Beth Davis. Chucky himself, Brad Dourif. Frank Gallagher himself, William H Macy. It of course tells the alternate history of a petty thief, uh, petty criminal named Henry Young, who was sentenced to Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary and later put on trial for murder of the first degree here. And it's actually a pretty decent little thriller here. Mark Rocco directed this. He did a pretty good job here. Crazy twisted turns around. Christian Slater was great in this. Kevin Bacon, really decent little drill there. Also turning 30 is SFW, which is a really nice little independent film. This was actually one of like Reese Witherspoon's earliest films. At the start of her career, I believe her first was The Man on the Moon, if I'm not mistaken. But this was like one of her earliest ones. You also had like Tobey Maguire, Jake Busey, Stephen Dorff, and it's about the slacker named Cliff Spab, who becomes one of the several hostages in a convenience store held by seeking experiments, and he endures being a prisoner for a week here. And of course, you got he bonds like with this fellow survivor played by Reese Witherspoon, and of course they begin a relationship here. And the chemistry between Dorff and Witherspoon is pretty decent. Jake Busey was great. Joey Laura Adams, who you might know from Chasing Amy fame, she was also in this. She was pretty solid. Really decent little film if you guys never seen it. All right, now turning 40 is Fandango. Not to be confused with the movie ticketing site, obviously, because I'm pretty sure this movie came out before that was ever thought of. This is, of course, a movie that stars Kevin Costner, directed by Kevin Reynolds, who's directed Costner in movies like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Waterworld. And this movie starred Kevin Costner as this young Texan who just graduated from college and is unsure of what to do next. And along with his friends, he's known as the Groovers. He embarks on a road trip to the Rio Grande uh, in Last Hurrah. And of course, you had people like Sam Roberts playing one of his buddies, Kenneth Wagner. Judd Nelson was in this. Not a bad little thriller here. Kevin Costner is pretty solid. This was actually one of his like earliest roles he did. Obviously, I think it was like his breakout role, if I'm not mistaken. But he did a pretty good job with this one. Judd Nelson, obviously, at the time when he had a big breakout with Breakfast Club and all too. Really decent film. You guys haven't seen that there. I wonder if the Fandago ticketing site actually named their site based on this movie. I don't know, but anyway, also turning 40 is the Falcon and the Snowman, directed by John Seltzer, directed or written by the Night of writer Steven Zellen. This was like before, obviously, the Night of came out and whatever. It stars the likes of Timothy Hutton, Sean Penn, Laurie Singer, Pat Hingle, and it's a true story of friendship and the story of two young American men, Christopher Boyce and Andrew Dalton Lee, who sold U.S. security secrets to the Soviet Union. Not a bad little driller here. Timothy Hudson was pretty good. The chemistry like between him and of course and Sean Penn was really good in this one too. Obviously, this was one of like Sean Penn's earliest roles here as well. So really decent film there. All right, now let me let you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? Well, not really much of the 10-year one for me. I'll probably say Strange Magic is the better one because who doesn't love Lucasfilms? 20-year one, I'm gonna go with Are We There Yet? I just have a little soft spot for that one. The 30-year one, I'm gonna go with Murder in the First. That's the better one there. And the 40-year one, I'm gonna go with Fandago. Anyway, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Him.